Welcome to Fearless and Flawed. Today, we're joined by Andrea Wanerstrand. Andrea is a leadership strategist, executive coach, and cultural transformation expert with over 25 years inside some of the world's most complex organizations, including Microsoft, Meta, and T-Mobile. She's the founder and CEO of A3 Culture Lab and the creator of the Mindset Maven Method, where she helps leaders make bold shifts from control to connection, performance to presence, and burnout to bold cultural influence.
And in this conversation, we'll explore how Andrea helps leaders create authentic, human centric workplaces where people truly thrive. What it takes to shift from managing performance to cultivating presence, and how her A3 philosophy, authentic, autonomous, and accountable, has transformed leadership cultures around the world.
We'll also dive into the science and soul of her work, how neuroscience, behavioral strategy, and raw clarity come together to drive meaningful change, and the lessons she's learned about courage, vulnerability, and leading from a place of connection.
I'm Serena, and I build systems that make leaders impossible to ignore, turning podcasts into pipelines and webinars into cash machines.
And I'm Sarah, an email marketing pro, here to convert clicks into cash. Together, we're two women in charge, digging into the fearless, the flawed, and the fabulous journeys of female founders rewriting the rules.
So let's dive in. Welcome to our show, Andrea.
Oh, it's fantastic to be here on a Friday morning, starting my day with you two.
So, Andrea, you work in all about transforming leadership from the inside out. Can you take us back to the moment you realized that reshaping culture and helping leaders show up differently was the mission you were meant to pursue?
Hmm. Well, it's a long journey for me to get here, but I actually had a career in IT program management for my first 18 years. And then I've over the last 20 plus years, I've been in leadership development, and that came from a leader who saw something in me. I was putting in IT systems for HR. So think performance management, payroll, all those exciting things. And it was right around the 2000s. So it was the dot-com era. But I was working in T-Mobile, and I had somebody that really believed in me. She was the vice president of HR at the time, and she said she wanted to talk to me one day. And I was like, okay, when your stakeholder wants to talk to you, that can't be good. And she started off with, don't get me wrong, you're really great at your job. I was like, oh, this is not going to go well. And she says to me, she goes, I noticed that your eyes kind of glaze over when you're talking about bug reports and software releases, but you really light up when we talk about the people. And I want to bring you on as my director of org effectiveness. And that started my journey on the people side. I'd never worked in HR, so I thought I had to go out and get something touchy-feely. So I went and got certified as a coach in around 2004. Most of them were life coaches, business coaches, and coaches in business was a rarity. And that's where I started my journey. But I started off with a lot of imposter syndrome at that time. So part of what instilled in me was seeing leaders around me, and then also my numerous flaws that showed up early in my career when I was trying to lead, but I wasn't confident at that point.
Honestly, I still believe flaws are what make us so much more interesting. So what gave you the imposter syndrome? What made you think that somebody had come up to you and said, look, I see this potential in you. What gave you the imposter syndrome?
Um, I was stepping in to a major corporation. Now, mind you, I'd worked in small companies before. I hadn't really worked in large corporations with tens of thousands of individuals. I never even had a performance review 2 years before that.
And then you were giving them out.
And here I am running it. And I did have a natural affinity for it. I found it fascinating, and I studied the science and I looked at it. But I looked at all these people who had org psychology degrees and were standing around me who'd been in this for years. And I didn't believe in it. In fact, my leader, she pulled me aside one day and she's like, you trust me, right? And I was like, absolutely. And she's like, I chose you for a reason, and I need you to believe that.
So you said one phrase that really caught my attention. You didn't believe in it. You didn't believe in what? The psychology side of things, or Or was that
I
just
didn't
a
believe I didn't believe in me, and they that I had an affinity for it, that I was capable of this. It was all new to me, but the logic, I guess, that I represented in my work and how worked with my team and how I thought about the people side was unschooled, but evidently leaning in the human-centric way that that leader saw something in me. I just didn't believe the it of what she saw in me, and it was that started my journey for it, and it really has helped me in my journey for becoming self-aware and how I can help others become self-aware. Because with awareness, and understanding, that's a power because we know where our flaws are. We know where our scared, fearful points are, and we're at choice. But when we operate on autopilot, that's when stress and burnout can happen.
When did this what you just said, right? You talk about stress, burnout, and we've touched on that there's a bit of neuroscience, behavioral strategy woven into your journey. Can you expand more on that? Because that sounds great. When you just said that, I'm like, yes, I buy into that. What she's saying makes perfect sense, but there's layers to this. This isn't just a nice motto to say. Can you expand into your experience with, hey, this affects the brain or this affects how you present yourself, or what research have you come across, or what type of studies or just human behavior have you said, this has really been woven into my journey, not just as something nice to say, but something that actually is fundamentally true if we can believe or buy into A, B, and C?
Absolutely. It is based in science. For too many years, we were taught that having emotions was not professional. And here's the newsflash: your nervous system, which carries your emotions, which are energetic, never got that memo. The fact is, you're human and you walk into every situation, and your emotions are based in your history and your experience and your confidence and your lack of confidence. And that's going to activate or trigger things within you. And you have your three brains. You have your gut brain that has neurons, you have your heart brain, and you have your head brain. And your nervous system is sending messages up to your head brain through those other two heart centers, if you will. In fact, your heart sends more messages to your thinking brain than your thinking brain sends to your heart. So this is why when I'm working with clients and in particular just helping anyone who's going through a high stress situation, is our body sends us signals of the stress before we ever think, I'm really stressed. And that is can look like tapping of your feet, scrunching your shoulders, voice pitch changing, your intonation. Yeah, Serena, you're squirming there.
Yeah, check
There's all these.
things you've said. I'm like, yes, every day. Yes,
Yep.
keep going.
just readjusting myself?
Your heart rate gets up. You clench your fist. I have somebody that like scratches at their nails. Everyone has their own unique series, is what I found. We have a blueprint. You're both shaking your head. For those of you who are just listening to the audio on this, they're both shaking their head. And that is the physicality of the energy that's happening in us. And I say it that way rather than we often think of stress as a full negative, but we have energy flowing through us that we just can't stop the emotion from coming out. Ever have a good belly laugh? That belly laugh, you can't stop laughing at a certain point. And that's what I'm talking about, is that emotion wants to get out. And as it's building up, if we know the signals and we're aware of those signals, we're at choice, and we can start to regulate or manage those emotions. Because again, they're going to be there in the workplace, in your life, no matter what, because you are a human. So it puts you more in the driver's seat of your own body and mind. And that way you can go from reaction to responding. And that's an awareness that has to be cultivated. So many of us work on autopilot.
So we're We're Fearless and Flawed Women in Charge. So we focus on female entrepreneurs and businesses and owners and professional women and non-professional women. Hell, why not? But something you touched on was we're not supposed to show emotion. And I just wanted I that was right at the very beginning of what you were just talking about. We've all been told not to show emotion. Now, I've seen this, and I just want to get your perspective on it. I always felt when I was in the corporate world, that I really had to hide everything because I was female, and no shade at all to males here, but because I was female, I felt as though everyone was expecting me to show emotion, and that was a sign of weakness, and that I shouldn't be showing it. I don't know where I was going with this, but it was just the thought that kind of came into my head that I could really resonate.
I was taught that, and I don't really have a great poker face.
I have a dreadful one. Every emotion's on my face, everything.
That's why we're friends, Serena.
Here's the thing, vulnerability and empathy is part of being human-centric, and we are not robots, and when we try to fully separate, that's where we get toxic environment, toxicity within ourselves, and we become toxic. In fact, because when we're miserable, we're spreading that miserable out and oozing it into everyone else around us. So managing your emotions is part of emotional intelligence in which wasn't talked about 20 years ago. When I in 2004, when I stepped into my role, that was nothing that anyone talked about. Maybe if you went into therapy, they might bring it up there, but it wasn't in the workplace from a vernacular perspective. And so, yes, we have emotions. Our energy and how we share those emotions is the professional edge that I talk about. I'm a big believer in Brene Brown, who says, vulnerability is important in the workplace, but she's the same person who says no faux crying and don't overshare. So what is contextual? What is appropriate to share? And we have to get our emotions out. As I said, they're going to come out whether we want to or not. So how do we manage that is the key. And yes, there's still a bias that women are more emotionally driven.
I also found when I was in the corporate world, like with children, for example, I remember getting very cross during COVID. So being a mum in the corporate world, it was very two separate worlds. Mum, work. The two didn't mix. If I brought my child into work because I had childcare issues, it would be dramatic. It would be very unprofessional. You shouldn't be doing that. And yet during COVID, all you saw were these men on TV with their child walking in the back and everyone laughing and congratulating them on being such a great father. And I saw that kind of pull in business. And so yeah, just going back to that whole the difference between what I perceived a woman could show during business and what a man could show during business was very, very different. So once again, I still don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm wondering whether things have changed now. I haven't been in corporate world so much for a few years now.
Well, I haven't been in for about 4 years, but I still coach in corporate. And here's the thing, women are more in tune with their gut and their heart and the emotions that we have, in my opinion. I can't say that scientifically, right? But in my experience, both in the workplace and being a woman for 60 some odd years here on the planet. And it's not to say men are not as well, but we have chemicals that are actually generated in our emotions for all of us as humans. And, we have happiness and we have anger and all of the emotions that are there. But Serena, what you're talking about is, are we moving to a place where we recognize that all of us have emotions and all of us have responsibilities that go beyond the job that we've been hired for, because that's just part of our life. That is not our life per se. And they may include children, cats, dogs, partners that are going through things. And the indicator for me when I see it getting better is, I was coaching an executive at a multinational the other day, and they're getting ready to leave on paternity leave. And he's like, "Well, I'm going to take a break from my coaching for a few months. Is that okay?" And I go, "Absolutely." And he goes, "Well, do you have clients that don't do that?" And I go, "I have for years seen clients not take paternity leave. So I am not going to tell you you can't take paternity leave, that your coaching's not going to work. And it'll work. And I think it's going to make it even better for you." And he's like, "What do you mean people don't take paternity leave?" And it was a 30 something leader that was male. And his shock that others wouldn't was an indicator to me that there are things changing. When my son was born 22 years ago, it was very rare, if ever, that paternity leave was actually taken.
I think here it was only 2 weeks for a man to have off.
I- In England, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we have a more open system than I know that you guys do over in the US.
So is it getting better? Yes. Is it yet a long way to go, in my opinion? Yes.
Is it getting better for women? Not just men. Is it getting better for women? I mean, men didn't have paternity leave, but is the cultural shift going?
Well, my point with the paternity leave is, most men didn't think that they would take it because that was the female's job, and I'm seeing more of a partnership, and I'm hearing words like partner rather than husband and wife. Sarah, you're shaking your head. It's just, I think things are better and there are things that are worse. It depends. There's the three of us right now are in three different countries as we're having this
I know.
conversation. The contextual context of all of those, there's pockets, and I equate that to any company as well. It's there, you have what the aspired company culture might be and what they tout and how they recruit, and then you have the pockets of culture within an organization. And how you're treated as a human really comes down to the individuals that you're involved with. And so I think that equates in a, and I don't mean to be trite about this, I think that equates to what you're talking about, Serena, in the aspect of, it's getting more easy to find people that actually treat others as humans and have similar viewpoints on the equality and the contribution of women than it was, say, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. In my lifetime in the 1970s, a woman in the United States could not own a credit card
Couldn't get a mortgage. I was just blown away by that. Couldn't get a mortgage without a husband.
or a father. And so I think it's all perspective. Is it getting better?
Okay,
Yes. Is
that's a great point. It's getting better.
is it ideal? Is it fair? Is it equal? Probably not.
Yeah, I shake my head yes, because I also think, again, speaking from a US point of view, I lived, in Boston for many years, and the Boston startup scene, right? A lot of competition now is, what can you offer me as an employee? And those are competitive things like, unlimited vacation. The irony is that no one takes vacation when it's unlimited because, sometimes it's a double-edged sword. But paternity leave is something I'm seeing a lot more of in these startups, encouraged, it's sometimes mandatory. You have to take at least this much off. So I hear what you're saying, Andrea. And so just so, in your experience personally as well as professionally, at this moment, you've gone through the process. You see what's changed. You have clients that have come to you, so you're kind of seeing it through their world. And just so we're kind of on the same timeline, you're seeing clients through your A3 Culture Club, correct? Because you're the founder and CEO of A3 Culture Club and Mindset Maven Method. And it sounds like a lot of what you're talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, are maybe conversations that would intertwine with people who come to you. And what do they say? Like if I was like, okay, she's the CEO of this, she makes leaders, she helps leaders take bold shifts. What does that mean? Can you walk us through what you do? Are you holding people's hands? Are you coaching them, but also kind of being the cheerleader? Are you being more of the mindset guru? What does that look like? Because I'm a simple lady. Let's break it down.
So, workplaces today, I can go back 10 years ago, and the idea of authenticity or even the word, how do you feel, was not on employee surveys. And I know C-suite level individuals that at 10, 15 years ago was, I don't care how they feel. So that's part of the shift that I'm seeing. And it's that acknowledgement that feelings, emotions do exist. And so what I've taken together from my 20 some odd years of experience in focusing on leaders and over 35 years in the workforce is that the best performing teams have authenticity in their leadership and are able to show up as themselves, not wearing a mask, not playing a role, but actually being authentic. And that's where my Mindset Maven ties in. I'll talk about that in a moment because it enables authenticity. And then there's autonomy. You can't scale without autonomy. And it goes hand in hand with having accountability. If you're micromanaging or being command and control, getting people to take accountability for something that you are directing every single step along the way doesn't work. And in order for you to trust them and for them to trust you, it comes back to how confident are you? And I don't mean confident like you've become confident and you're like really just arrogant and you understand that you can conquer anything. But confidence is an ongoing journey, and it's this ability for you to be confident that you can navigate the unknown and you're gonna be okay, right? And when we're wearing a mask and not authentic, when we fail, not if we fail, because we are all flawed, but when we fail, we can damage trust because folks are seeing a different aspect of you and how you're managing that. But if you can show up authentically and be kind and straightforward, and what I differentiate between kind and nice is about you. You want to keep the peace, you want to keep it all good, you want to be liked. But kind is stepping in with courage, saying the right thing that's going to help the team and growth and the growth of the organization. And so that needs a leader that has a mindset that they're able to navigate. And that's where I came up with the Mindset Maven method. And so it's this aspect of we break down Maven in mindfulness, awareness, visualization, energy, and navigating. And mindfulness is that grounding. It can be meditation, which is the best thing you can do, and the data shows us, to re-energize yourself and get clear in a conscious state next to sleeping. And we talked a bit about awareness earlier. Awareness is getting us out of autopilot, seeing what's not seen. We can't grow if we're not clear on what we need to grow in. So that's what awareness, and that's a journey too. You're always going to learn something new about yourself. And just because you learn it doesn't mean you're going to master it. You're going to just catch yourself doing it faster, which is really frustrating sometimes because I've been doing it for a while. And then visualization.
It's not to interrupt, but it sounds like you're a business therapist, right? Because you're talking about a lot of these things and but business, it's like you're part therapist. I know, not technically a therapist, but therapist, I mean, this is like more than just, hey, let's get a timeline and get cash flow going, or hey, let's schedule that. This is like really deep. This is really layered.
Well, this is the humans that are actually managing the actual business. So you need your SOPs, your standard operating procedures. You need your product. You need to be able to market it. But how your humans show up every day determines whether you're innovative and growing or not. And we cannot, literally, our brains will not be innovative if we are stressed out and in flight or fight. And we don't like uncertainty as humans. And every day has a change or uncertainty in it, whether it's the traffic light takes longer, or your kid throws a tantrum, or the boss changes the direction. Maybe you're the boss and you're changing the direction. It really, everything has change into it. And this is where the visualization, it's what top athletes have done. We can actually really train our brain to see the future because our brain doesn't distinguish between our thoughts and reality. So if we navigate our thoughts to a point where we can actually see and imagine what success or what we envision coming forth, we're actually programming ourselves to do it. And so if you can see it, you can actually step into it. And then the N of the Maven is really navigating ambiguity, being able to navigate and know with confidence. And confidence is just part of getting out of our comfort zone and getting a new confidence and getting a new comfort zone over and over as we journey through life.
So when somebody first comes to you, what's the first steps? What happens?
Depends where they are. So I have to meet them where they're at in their journey. And so if I'm speaking at an organization, I'm generally talking about activating across the organization and what they can do generally as a leader. If I'm working in a cohort or a one-to-one, we start off with, where are you now? And where do you want to be? And in particular, how do you want to be known? How do you want to be remembered with every interaction? And people feel you. They don't remember your words as much as they remember how it felt to be in your presence. And so that's where we start. What do you want?
And do people open up? I mean, I have to imagine, like, do people get it? Or like, what's the challenge in that you've seen kind of by and large? Is it people don't understand, can't tap into that? People don't buy into it? What's the hurdle? Or else everyone would say, I get it. I get it. New comfort zone. This is great. This is easy. So what do you see as from your lens is like, ooh, this typically is the internal question people can't answer, or they're stuck on what they did 10 years ago at that job that they got demoted for, whatever. What is it that you personally say, my job, these are the pitfalls of kind of human behavior or conditioning that I have to work through?
Yeah. So if they don't buy anything that I'm saying, they generally are not one of my clients unless I'm working for a company and they've been voluntold to get a coach and work with me. And that happens rarely. And so again, I try to meet them where they're at. But the biggest challenge that we all have is our inner voice. And I've got a client I just met with yesterday, really has a top goal, and she knows she's getting in her own way. And when I ask, what do you want to do about that? She goes, I don't know. And I go, well, let's have that conversation because we have multiplicity to us. Part of me wants to do this, part of me wants to do that. And we hold ourselves back, or we let some part of us that's very attached to emotion or attached to a thing create a limiting belief for us. And so we have to look at, if I really want this so much, what's holding me back? What's not allowing me to step into it? And it's a very personal space, and it's a way of reflecting. And then how do we talk to ourselves and coach ourselves forward? So I'm there as a coach, an accountability partner, someone to help ask the hard questions because I'm pretty straight shooting. I'm not going to like sit there just like, oh, be nice like me. more of you've hired me to ask you the questions. So we're going to ask the questions and I'm going to help you explore. But the answers all reside within you. I don't have the answers for you.
I wanted to ask, so who would be your ideal client? Who comes to you? What are their positions? What are the main drivers?
My ideal client is any human that wants to go from where they are now to living in success and alignment for themselves and defining success on their own terms. Most of our stresses, most of our masks come from some playbook that we've inherited. And whether that's societal, community, cultural, family. And I say, you got to write your own playbook if you're really going to want to live a life that you enjoy and you help others enjoy around you. And so, if you're ready to explore that, whether you're transitioning from just your mindset now to where you want to go, or you're going through a main transition in life, like leaving corporate, going someplace else, or growing your company as an entrepreneur, or you've sold a company, now you're going to start a new one. Identity is found in ourselves, not in the titles that we have. And so when people say, how do you introduce yourself? And I say, well, I'm me. And sometimes I'll say, if you want a title, it's entrepreneur, but I live a portfolio life. 4 years ago, I wouldn't have said that. I would have said my title and I would have lived behind it. So somebody that's wanting to find the space to be success on their own terms.
I can't even remember what I was reading, but something that you just said really like hit home. It was basically it's about how we define happiness based on the people around us. So, for example, a weird stat here that if your neighbor wins the lottery, you're more likely to go bankrupt because you'll try and aspire to somebody else's what they can have, the better car, the bigger whatever and stuff, and how difficult it is to hone in on what success looks like for you and not comparing that to those that are around you. So I really love what where you focus there on where success is for you personally.
I was going to say, it also sounds like there's empowerment kind of built into this, right? You mentioned like the story that we've all told ourselves. And usually that story, at least when I hear that phrase, that story is never a story that's like super uplifting and gets you to the net, at least in the beginning. That story usually is something that holds you back. So by rewriting the story, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a level of empowerment there. There's now resilience. There's now, a 2.0 version. Is that how people should kind of see this transformation happening? Not just rewrite the story for the sake of rewriting it, but come out understanding where those, like you said, limiting beliefs are. Is that kind of what, when people go, what do I get out of it? That's the 2.0 version.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting is I try to create awareness in my clients that they should be in a comfort zone that's actually comfortable. So many of us stay in a comfort zone and it can be, living hell because it's better than the unknown and we keep ourselves from taking action. And so if you can create a comfort zone that is comfortable, it doesn't have to be like groundbreaking. And I've worked with clients that are, very financially successful and relationships successful. And it can be as simple as I'm comfortable and I'm content and I'm happy. And that happiness comes from me. It's a definition, it's not, and it's of a state, it's not like I'm always happy, it's just I wake up and I have joy, and it doesn't mean I don't feel all the other emotions, but I've had a client, they're, like, so caught in with themselves and not moving forward because they don't have the confidence or they fear that they're gonna flub up and make a mistake. And I'm like, progress over perfection. It's that flawed aspect of it because they're not happy where they're at right now. They're lonely. They want to be in a relationship. They have other goals, and fear is keeping them back. So if there's fear in your comfort zone, is it a greater fear to stay there, or do you take the risk and move out of the comfort zone?
Do you also think it could also be partially to do with the fact that they haven't defined what success looks like for themselves?
Sometimes, sometimes, absolutely. And the or they've overdefined it. They've got the perfect list. It needs to look this way, this way, this way. And that's why when you see people achieve those things on the list and they're still not satisfied, it's because they had overdefined it. I use the example of early in career when I got promoted to a director at executive level the first time. I went and bought the very expensive car, and like the kind that they open the doors for you as you drive it out of the showroom here. Within 6 months, I hated that car. I was so afraid it was gonna get dinged. I was so afraid that my kid was gonna throw up in it. I was like, it didn't ride as smooth as the lesser car. It was expensive to fix, it was expensive to maintain, and I thought I'd be happy. It was what I was supposed to want. It was what I was supposed to have. And, I learned, not cheaply, by the way, that was a very expensive lesson, that that wasn't gonna bring it to me. So, be careful how we define things and get clear on your wants.
So let me turn the table on you, Andrea, now, because this is great. You're helping, clients. Like you said, you're that partner in accountability. This is a perfect tie-in to at this point of the show, we ask a question from our previous guest. And sometimes the questions are like really irrelevant because let's say someone's, I don't know, in a particular field, you kind of have to weave in like, how does this make sense, this question for you? But this one actually is very relevant.
This previous guest was a bit cheeky. She got asked to ask one question, and the way Sarah's going to word it right now, you're going to realize that she did a sneaky little. She added a few extra here.
Yeah, there's 10 questions in one, but we'll ask. Sure did.
I'll give it my shot.
And now she had talked a lot about her own journey and resilience and, learning through the hardship. And so she said for the next guest, I'm really curious, what have been the top 3 challenges she's faced? You can narrow that down to one challenge. If you and how did it build resilience in your life? So yeah, top 3, top defining challenge, and how did it build resilience? We'd love to know whether personally or professionally. It's an open question.
The first thing I would say is my dad gave me resilience in naming me. I'm Andrea Doreen. He named me, he's an oceanographer, he's 91 years old these days, and he named me after the Andrea Doria that sunk off the coast of Cape Cod as a child. And so, I was teased for the longest time that I was named after a sunken vessel, and my dad said to me when I asked him, I was like, "Dad, why'd you name me that?" And he's like, "I wanted to teach you resilience." He goes, "Because there's a great story for that. She didn't fully sink, people were saved, and, I wanted you to have a name of distinction." I was like, "Well, thanks, Dad." Sunken vessel. That was number 1. Second of all, for me is my career change. I thought I could just step into it, and the good old Marshall Goldsmith quote of "What got you here won't get you there." So it was an activator for the work I'm now doing 20 some odd years later. And it threw me into an insecurity I wouldn't have seen coming. And I had to learn to trust myself. And it's taught me that confidence level that no matter what happens to me, I'm going to be okay. So that's part of the resilience. And then the third is my son was born with from a neuroscience perspective, he has motor processing dyslexia. And he had some challenges. but in his learning, he overcame it, and I had to learn to be an advocate for him, and I couldn't fix it for him. And I'm happy to say and proud to say he just graduated with honors from the University of Washington. So when we found this out, you know, over 15 years ago, he couldn't read and he came out of it just fine. So in watching his journey and supporting his journey as a mother, I learned to have resilience in that I couldn't fix everything for my child, but I could help them along the way.
I love that. The I couldn't fix I just wanna resonate on that for a hot sec. I couldn't fix it. And it sounds like the minute you really accepted that, you were able to that's where the resilience, that's where but, like, you can't fix it, but you can support, you can guide, you can advocate. I love and you nailed all 3. You nailed all 3 of the questions, so kudos to you, 'cause I was gonna make it easy for you, Andrea. I was gonna say, "Just do 1." We was
Just one.
ready. The ship. I love that. Now, tell our listeners who, again, we've heard about kind of your journey, the mindset maven. Fun fact: I believe you're in the Seattle area, and you own a lavender field. That's a little bit of a side fun fact. Yeah, so you're very there's layers to you. I just want to put that out there. We've talked in pre-chat. There's so many different, I think, lives you've lived. It kind of almost feels like. But if someone's really interested in, like, okay, how do I connect with her? Like, is it only in person that you do? Is it virtual? What's the process of, like, setting up a chat? What does that look
So it's all done online unless I'm coming to your organization or your location to speak, because I not only live in the Seattle area, but I live on an island that's ferry served only off the coast of Seattle. And yes, I own a lavender farm. We have 5 acres here. It was a pig farm. We converted it to the lavender farm. So the best way, there's a few different ways to get in touch with me. You can see what's going on at LinkedIn under Andrea Wanerstrand. Otherwise, if you're interested in me speaking in your organization, you can go to a3culturelab.com. And if you're interested in just getting a chat, you can DM me on LinkedIn. And if you're really interested in the Mindset Maven method, we'll be launching another cohort at the start of the year, and you can go to mindsetmaven.com.
Love it. This has been awesome. I feel like you've given us great tidbits about, again, mindset, your own journey, kind of a holistic view of what you're seeing, but also a little bit of like some personal experience there. So thank you. We certainly I'd say, hey, we'll meet you at the lavender farm, just send us the invite. But it sounds like a journey to get to the island. So we'll just vicariously sounds
I'm
like
up for it.
We're really close to the airport here in Seattle, and it's a 20-minute passenger ferry into Seattle, so it's not as far and remote as you might think.
Just pick me up at Heathrow as you go through, Sarah.
Yeah, I just imagine you have to take a tugboat and then a rowboat. Like, I don't know. I imagine just you just with I just imagine this very remote, beautiful island, and I'm sure it is, but you're right. What am I thinking? Take the 20-minute ferry and you'll be in Andrea.
At least here in the States, Amazon and FedEx do deliver on
Oh,
a daily basis,
That's
so,
all that
people
matters,
do
isn't it, in
it's able
today's
to
world?
get here, yes,
you're in civilization. You absolutely are, but you take clients virtually and all that good stuff. Wonderful. Well, listen, Andrea,
globally too,
global
globally too.
perfect. Well, we're as per this podcast, we are in 3 different time zones and you make it work when there's enough interest and enough, again, motivation. I think the beautiful thing with virtual appointments is that if you want to make it happen, you can nowadays.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
It's been
absolutely.
wonderful sharing your story today, Andrea. Thank you very much for your time and coming on our podcast.
Thank you both, I love the work that you're doing. We need more voices on this.